to cleanse us from our sin, from our mistakes. Who are these fives? Abdul Baha in the Some Answered Question says, every religion had 12. Like in Moses, Jesus, Muhammad, there are 12, imams or disciples or chief. But in the Baha'i Faith, there are 24. He calls them, they are called in the Bible as elders by Daniel. Baha'i Faith, they call them elders. However, in the English one and in the Persian one, clearly in the Some Answered Questions, he calls them guardians. Wow. Guardians, it says. In every religion there are 12. Guardians are 24 in the Baha'i Faith. He says there's holy people. They are sitting on the eternal throne. They're like prophets. But nevertheless, they humble themselves down in front of Baha'u'llah. There is a helper. Shogi Effendi talks about them. They ask him, who are these 24? He says, well, the Bab and 18 letters of the living are 19 of these elders. 5 others will come in future. So far we do not know who these 5 others are. He says, I don't know who they are. And he does not include himself as one of them. Right there we understand there are 2 types of guardianship then. The one is himself, which is infallible. The other one, he's talking about the 5 others who he is not one of them, he says. And then when he says Bab and 18 letters of the living were also elders, it's just telling us that these guys are like disciples of Christ. They might waver from the faith of God. One of them did actually. One of the letters of the living, he never became Baha'i. He did not accept Baha'u'llah, even to hell. Okay? He was replaced by another one who built the Baha'i temple in Ashgabat. And Abdul Baha says that Wakil al-Dawla, cousin of the Bab, is actually one of these elders. They cannot be appointed. Universal Law of Justice cannot appoint them. They are somehow like the prophets of God. They have to understand what their message is by themselves. Remember, when Bab, Mullah Hussein, when Sheikh Kazim died, he said that you have to go find him yourself. One of these elders, or letter of living in the Baha'i Faith and elders in the Baha'i Faith, is Mullah Hussein. He found the Bab himself. So was 18 people after him. None of them were told who the Bab is. They have to find it themselves. Just like the prophet of God, they find they are prophet of God. These guys, they find out they are the elders of God. But it's something that themselves have to understand. How big is their authority? Big. One of them who built the Mashra al-Askar in the first Baha'i temple, Abdul Baha tells them, if I died and if I captured, as the situation is, he orders him to institute the universal laws of justice. To him, he says. To whom you would say this? To really like a successor. That important was this hands of the cause, this elder of God. He told him that you do. But thank to God, nothing happened. So, they are different from hands of the cause of God. Hands of the cause of God are appointed. These elders are not. All right. Now we talked about this. I got a picture, some pictures. Now I'm going to go to see what happened to one of these confused individuals, Mr. Mason Remey. I should tell you there's nothing in the writing that give me the authority as the interpreter of the writing, as an elder of God, to call this man satanic, evil, or even not a Baha'i. Mason Remey was confused. He was confused about his station and his responsibility. He was asked to be the president or chairman, otherwise, of the International Baha'i Council, which was an embryo in the phase 1 of the 3rd phase of the Universal Laws of Justice. He says that because it was appointed by Shoghi Effendi to be the president of the International Baha'i Council, and this Baha'i Council would have to become a universal house of justice. So when it becomes the universal house of justice, I still am the president of it. Therefore, universal house of justice has to obey me. Did you get what he got? How he got this idea that he's the guardian? Now, let's see where the confusion comes. I downloaded this from the website, is right there. It says a few things. I'm going to read it for you. This is his writing. Where is his philosophy comes from? The Baha'i people, the world around know that the beloved guardian singled me, Mason Remey, out from amongst all the believers upon the earth to occupy the position of the president of the Baha'i International Council. Okay. This is the only position suggestive of authority and Shoghi Effendi ever bestowed upon anyone. The only a special and a specific appointment of authority to any man ever made by him. That's absolutely wrong. Abdul Baha clearly says the authority after Shoghi Effendi, side by Shoghi Effendi, is called hands of the cause of God. He hasn't called anybody else. No other positions. Other places talks about elders. But we don't have anything else except elders and hands of the cause of God. And he says they have the authority to expel a Baha'i from the Baha'i Faith, whether he is just a normal Baha'i or even he is hands of the cause of God, even, he says. What bigger authority than that you want? He bestowed upon them this authority. This is not authority, but the confusion comes from this man. He was honest, but confused. He says, this is what he says now, the second line, second paragraph. The beloved guardian declared the Baha'i International Council to be the forerunner of and the first step towards the establishment of the Universal House of Justice. And furthermore, the Baha'i International Council was the embryo of the Universal House of Justice, the embryo which eventually developed into the Universal House of Justice. Therefore, he says, I am the boss of it. Okay. That's where his philosophy comes. Now see what he says here. Very amazing. The first guardian of the faith of God left this world without giving me any order or instructions whatsoever regarding the International Council. The beloved guardian gave me no authority to do anything about the Universal Council during his lifetime for while he was living. He was the guardian of the faith, and as infallibility then was invested in him and in him only. My position was then only that of myself holding a potential responsibility, but with the death of Shoghi Effendi, he no longer taking the center upon the earth of infallibility, I became the acting president of the International Baha'i Council in my own right. So, he says that, you got it? That Shoghi Effendi never told me anything. Well, that's very strange. He doesn't even tell you anything. And then you mixed up that you're nothing but the hands of the cause. He says that that International Baha'i Council cannot be dissolved. Well, there were 4 other hands of the cause of God, the member of it. Leroy I was, Hugo Giegri, Rohia Khanum. They dissolved it. They said, who are you one? We're all hands of the cause. We're never told that among the hands of the cause there's one bigger than others. There is an authority among the hands of the cause, but they have to be elected, he says, by 9 people elected among these 27. And that is basically doing the responsibilities of the Shoei Effendi, of the guardian of the cause, that we don't have anything else. So this is where he gets his things. That's where he gets. Let's talk about a little bit of these things more. It says, this is the authority I am now exercising, where I refuse to recognize any interface from anyone in the affair of the International Council. This means that anyone at all. Well, this is in direct contradictions with the Will and Testament, where it says the hands of the cause of God, which he was one of them, they have to elect 9 members. By the way, he was one of them too. He accepted to be one of them. How many positions you accept? Once you say I'm the president, if I'm appointed then I cannot be elected, you accepted to be elected to be one of the central point of the hands of the cause of God by elections. So you knew you can't be a president then. If you were a president appointed by Shoei Effendi, you can't participate in an election. See? It seems in the beginning he knew well. Just he's nobody, just everybody else. It's just another hands of the cause of God. This idea came later on in his head. The poor guy. Talks about hands of the cause. They have no authority vested in themselves as the hands of the faith to act in their own capacity, nor in any other capacity, save under direction of the living guardian of the faith of God. Well, let me see where I had a couple of these writings that let's bring this up so everyone. From there, he says they have no authority, hands of the cause. Let's see what's the authority of hands of the cause by the Will and Testament of Baha'u'llah, Abdul Baha. Quote, the hands of the cause of God must elect from their own number 9 persons that shall at all times be occupied in the important services and the work of the guardian of the cause of God. The election of these 9 must be carried either unanimously or by the majority from the company of the hands of the cause of God. And these, whether unanimously or by a majority vote, must give their assent to the choice of one whom the guardian of the cause of God had chosen as his successor. This assent must be given in such wise as the assenting and dissenting voices may not be distinguished. He says that do it in a secret ballot. Continues. O friend, the hands of the cause of God must be nominated and appointed by the guardian of the cause of God. All must be under the shadow and obey his command. Should any within or without the company of the hands of the cause of God disobey and seek division, the wrath of God and his vengeance will upon him. For he will have caused a breach and the true faith of God. Well, this is the authority of the hands of the cause of God, that they have to elect 9 people among themselves and do the work of Shoei Effendi. And they can go against anybody they want. He was one of them. And then he says, in here, I was just reading it, it's crazy, that he says, I refuse to recognize any interface from anybody in the affairs of the International Baha'i Council. Well, sorry, the hands of the cause, they can tell you anything they wish to. This is the Will and Testament of Baha, Abdul Baha. Where are you getting this idea from? It says the Baha'i people, the world around. Okay, we read that once. What other things he's been confused about? Yeah, there are a few things he says in his declarations. They have no authority vested in themselves. He talks about the hands of the cause of God to act in their own capacity, nor in any other capacity. Wrong, we just read it. That they do have this power. He says, I am the president of the embryonic Universal House of Justice when this august body becomes the Universal House of Justice. If such being during my lifetime, I will then be the president of the Universal House of Justice of the Baha'i dispensation. Wrong again. Shoghi Effendi, Abdul Baha, thousands of places. They have to be elected. They could have a president. That president has to be appointed by Shoghi Effendi as the second guardian of the faith. There is no nominations. The 9 members went into the room of Shoghi Effendi, Mason Remey being one of them. They declared he has not appointed a second guardian. And then Mason Remey says he has never given me anything whatsoever what to do. He himself says that. So this is why it's wrong. Let's see, finally. It is well known throughout the Baha'i world and accepted by the Baha'is that protection of the faith and propagation of the faith are the special and particular functions of the hands of the faith of God. Well, of course, protecting the faith of God, as you confessed here, they felt that you're wrong. And finally it says, another mistake, I now command the hands of the faith to stop of all their representation for 1963. He can't command. He's just the hands of the cause of God. And he has to take order from the elections within the hands of the cause of God from the central committee of their own. Again, is wrong. So, and then it says, my assurance is based upon the authority that the beloved guardian gave me as president of the council and the authority enabling me to act and assume the command of the Baha'i Faith that came to me at his death. And then he says himself, he has not given me any authority whatsoever what to do. And finally, I am the guardian of the faith of God, the infallible guardian of the Baha'i Faith. Wrong again. So, if we know this, then we know what's going on. So, I'm not the acting judge, but I take the liberty, unofficially, to judge what happened between these 26 hands of the cause of God and Mr. Mason Ramey. It was something I saw, again it was on the internet. I'm going to have to read that too. My dear friend, listen to this, it's good. It's right on the Wikipedia. Over the years following 1966, now 1963, Universal Laws of Justice was formed 3 years after. It says, over the years following 1963, the followers of Mason Remey were not organized, but some of his followers concluding that the Remey was suffering from dementia. He was sick, he was old. So, if I want to judge, I have to say that hands of the cause of God are not infallible. They're not like Shoghi Effendi. Even the company of the nines are not infallible. But they are what's available. Shoghi Effendi did not have a need for appointing anyone. God didn't want to appoint another guardian, because all the salient feature was already done. There was no need. It's wrong to say that because there was nobody, so Shoghi Effendi couldn't appoint. That's interpretation. That's wrong. Of course, if God wants to have another guardian, he would appoint another one. There's a shortage of people. If there isn't one, then there mustn't be one. As simple as that. I have to take it as a face value. Okay? Were they infallible? No. Therefore, their decisions would be correct? Not completely. Was it as good as the decisions of Abdul Baha? Abdul Baha and Shoghi Effendi says yes when we're not there. What can I say? Could the affair be done better than that? Yeah. If I was around, I was probably in a diaper by then, a couple years old. But if I was around, I would probably set a committee. I suggest a committee to take care of Mason Remey. He's old. To find out what he says. Don't let him go away. Keep him. Tell him you need him, you're important. Of course you're the boss. Why not? Command me whatever you want. I'll obey you. Make him to laugh. But he complains that the Baha'is, hands of the cause, they were having their own gathering and keeping this non-Iranian, which there was not enough translation of knowing what's going on. There's always this kind of a spooky thing that's going on, you know? They're thinking they're up to something. So today I say that firmly, that Mason Remey is not out of seduction, out of greed, out of ego have done this. He was confused. A man, as some of his followers suggested, probably was suffering from dementia and some other things that happens to old people. So I think he's a Baha'i. But there are a lot of Baha'is like that they make mistakes. It has been known in the Baha'i Faith. Baha'u'llah did not send them away because they had these wrong ideas. They were Baha'is. I'll give you 3 examples. One of them is Sadiq Tabrizi. This is a Babi. On his own, he took the gun and put pallets in it and shot the king. Many Baha'is were killed because of that. Tahira was killed. They all could remain and help Baha'u'llah. Baha'u'llah was put right in jail thanks to Mr. Sadiq Tabrizi. Baha'u'llah says that he made grievous mistakes, but didn't curse him. Baha'u'llah says, may God forgive him. You see that? Another Baha'i, that first Baha'i in the faith, that even Baha'u'llah did not forgive him. Listen to this. Abdul said, don't call him a covenant breaker. He was always keeping him with himself. But the man did it again, something wrong again. Again, he was confused. He thought he was writing a Baha'u'llah for the believers. He thought that, okay, I'm just like him too. He just happened to call himself Baha'u'llah. Who knows what kind of a confusion it was in his head. There was a woman, when Abdul Baha was in the United States, he was doing this soul searching and, I don't know, was doing his hand, this and that, in Chicago, I think it was, trying to, bring the spirit of Baha'u'llah and whatnot among the Baha'is. The practice that's not the Baha'is, they don't do. Many times they complain, Abdullah said, leave him alone, leave her alone. You see, sometimes people are confused. Okay? And it's very hard for a confused person to accept anything unless you give him reasons. So, the question that was put by you by the Mason Remey was a right question. He was asking all these questions. There has to be another guardian. Abdul Baha says so. If there isn't, is that because it's me? You see? But the fact that he was a hands of the cause, that put a restriction on him. That means you can't say anything more than what you were told. If you were not appointed him as a hands of the cause of God, you might have a go at it if you could prove something. But once you're called hands of the cause of God, you can't change this. If you want to say you're more than this, then you're in conflict with Shawqi Effendi, who called you hands of the cause. You're telling to Shawqi Effendi, I'm more than what you said you are. I am. You see? This is where the confusion comes. I think we should not be too hard at him. But this Marangella or others that God, I don't think there are even 50. Even between them there was a huge divisions, and they're nobody there, really, to be honest with you. But they put big website in the Orthodox Baha'is in India. There isn't any, eh? I'm telling you, I know. These are all the age of the digital, and they go on the top as if we're somebody. People listen to us, look at our website, there's pictures, this and that. Absolutely nothing. So he says that In one place I was reading that Shawi Effendi asked Mason Remey, do you want to be the chief of the Baha'i court, which is the second phase of this International Baha'i Council? He says, I was a witness to hear this. Well then, sir, Mason Remey is lying, because he said at his time he never told me anything. Nothing. That's what he says in his declaration. And then you say that you heard that Shoghi Effendi told him something like that. Unbelievable if Shoghi Effendi asks anybody that he wants to do this or that. He won't suggest anyone. They have to ask him and then he would answer. Shoghi Effendi doesn't do that. No infallible being would ever say that to somebody. You want to be this or you want to do that. No. So, this fellow is a prime example of confusion. To understand the confusion that happens, there were a lot of confused Baha'is. They were not, as I said, dealt too harshly, neither by the Bab, nor by the Baha'u'llah, nor by Abdul Baha, and neither by Shoghi Effendi. Some of them, some of them were simply, wholeheartedly, they did not believe. They were just joining for the freebies, really, like Aware. He was up there to see what can he get in Germany, or that Khairullah he was enjoying among the American Baha'is, using the Baha'i money from Abdul Baha, doing all the things he wanted to do. When they told him, get off, he didn't want that. So they're different. They are, the people that you have to stay away from them. And the word of covenant breaker has to be, taken away from the words. No more look for covenant breaker. Look for the covenant brokers. They're new covenant breakers. They know this is not working. Many of them, they read the history of the Baha'i Faith. When they come up and they say there's no Baha'is will follow them. So what they do, they do not say who they are. They wear the ties and the suits, nice language, humble attitude, and write few books. Immediately Baha'is, they send them to local, national, and international, and universal. Beware of those. Not people like me who stay outside. People like me can't harm the faith. Those who are harming the faith, they're the covenant breakers that are acting like a covenant brokers right inside. Always the Baha'i teachers, you find them, like Ted Globish in Calgary. They always have trouble with the administrative members, because these guys, they have not engaged in teaching. They just read the books and information, regurgitations, and they got up there. And they don't like Baha'i teachers. They're jealous about them. That's what the real thing is. Ignorance is the greatest of all the conspiracies. There's no conspiracy. Ignorance is. It appears itself so innocently. So, the oblivion, is the conspiracy. I'm going to have to be talking about the fifth element, or the fifth element, element 5 in the Baha'i writings, which is this new sets in the Will and Testament. It's called elders. I'm one of them. I'm going to tell you what is happening in that issue, although I've spoken before. These are the covenant breakers by misunderstanding. Okay? Baha'u'llah, good morning actual is 1:13 now. And may Baha'u'llah and his blessing be with you all. Okay? Thank you.